Shalom, shalom. First thing first, I want to give all praises, glory, honor, and power that is due unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles at Great Millstone, those who rule well and who learned this truth from. And salutation to the brothers stiffly pushing this one truth, and all sincerity and diligence, risking your lives and freedoms to do so. All right, shalom to the rest of the elect, as we all await the second exodus coming quickly by the hands of Lord Yahweh Shah. All right, this is your brother Rakakabar. All right, and hey, man, we're definitely in them times, man. You know, we're in them end times. All right, so where this devil, okay, is about to try to, finish setting up his enterprise, which ultimately his end goal is to, chip a lot of you people, man. Now what ultimately inspired this lesson, is, the seventh season of Black Mirror came out. Okay, the seventh season of Black Mirror just came out, which, brothers are privy to that. We like to watch particular, a lot of the sci-fi shows tend to reveal, a lot of Esau's agendas, like Year Million, okay, Black Mirror, et cetera. Pretty much shows you, what Esau has and what he plans on implementing into society. Because a part of what these devils abide by, all right, is a universal law, which they pretty much got to, show you and tell you, pretty much warn you about what they're going to do before they do it, and people watch these movies and these shows as purely entertainment. And, that's your, that's ultimately in their eyes, that's your way of accepting it. If you don't, do anything against it, but, ultimately, man, what I want to touch on is, I was watching the first episode, which, I'm not going to, spoil it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to spoil it. But hey, it pretty much shows you what the coming consequences would be, all right, of, pretty much taking this man's brain chip, and merging yourself with, his technology, man. Because we know Elon Musk, which he's a prominent figure, in this, with this administration, his whole thing is the Neuralink, man. That's one of his main, pursuits is the Neuralink, which is, literally that brain hip, that goes into the head, man. To where they're done. I don't want to say they're done, but they've done human trials at this point, man. There's been videos going out. All right, I forget what exact condition the guy had, but he was in a wheelchair and whatnot, but he was able to play video games just using his mind. So showing you that that's really what they want, man. A bunch of people that are merged with their technology. Okay. Now, when you go into this episode, all right, I want to just read from I'll just read from this article because, again, I don't want to spoil it, but it's still a whole lot of, it'll still be a interesting watch, nonetheless, because it's a lot of shit in there, man, that was just make you say, wow, because really, again, it shows you what would happen if this man was fully able to set this shit up, man. And it would be very, very, very wicked, very bad, complete control. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't have any autonomy, man. You wouldn't even be able to think for yourself, man. But, I'm a just read through the article, because it's ultimately a, overview, if you will. But it says Black Mirror Season 7 viewers issue warning about disturbing first episode. Okay, and let's get down to the point. It says Black Mirror has returned with its highly anticipated seventh season, and its first episode has already left viewers as depressed as they are impressed. And I guess it says warning spoilers for Black Mirror Season 7 to follow episode 1. So, maybe I won't read it, because I don't want to spoil it for brothers, you know what I'm saying, and, who people haven't watched it. But, ultimately, to make a long story short, this woman here as depicted, she's a teacher, but she had a condition, she felt ill, she had some type of condition, and pretty much the only way to save her life was to perform a particular surgery. Okay, it was she had to perform a particular surgery that ultimately, and I don't want to say too much, but it pretty much had to put pretty much synthetics into her brain. It downloaded a certain part of her brain onto like the cloud, and put the rest back in her brain or some shit, and yada yada yada. Just the whole merging man with machine and whatnot. And really without spoiling it, I can't say too much, but it just shows you we're in them times, man. Okay, that this devil, all right, he puts these things out because this is exactly what they want, man. These ideas, come from the minds of those wicked ass elites, their think tanks, because hey, before you know it, man, that chip is going to be mainstream because a lot of people already got it in them. The hand chip, which is going to replace your, it's going to replace your wallet. It's going to replace the credit card. It's going to replace your car keys. It's going to replace your, the smartwatch. We brothers went into that briefly at camp the other day. The brother that I was visiting from out of town, from Holland, he had a smartwatch. We was just talking about it briefly, but all the information and whatnot, the smartwatch houses, all of the health, able to track your steps and calories and heart rate and monitor your sleep. That little chip is gonna be able to do all that, man. That's why with this whole push for I forget what it's called, it's slipping my mind. But if I think of it, I'll just drop it in the comment section. But Salaki, the UN Pact for the Future, to where all these nations have pretty much agreed to be on one accord, man. In the case of another global pandemic or some type of a global event, they're gonna push for that what do they call it, man? The that digital health shit, man. In less than fewer words. When they go into the digital IDs and all of those things, man, that's what the push is for. And that's really all code word for that damn chip that's coming, man. They're gonna sell it under the guise of something health. I'm blanking on the word, right now, but under that health, man. And hey, really, that's really the point, without saying too much, I don't want to spoil it, because it's definitely a good watch, for those of us in the know, because this shows you how frightening this dude, how frightening this shit would be, man. And how wicked Esau is, man, because this is what he want. You know what I'm saying? And this is why we warn you Jakes, all right, you Israelites out there, not to submit to this man's system, because, hey, we're in them times, man, all right, that this is about to be the push, okay, for you to be able to buy and sell, and to be incorporated into this society, changes will have to be made, man. And you know what I'm saying? And them changes are going to take place with your body. That's what this devil want. That's why all the trade wars, the terrorists, crashing the U.S. economy, which is crashing, global economies. That's why all this shit is happening right now, man. World War III is trending. They're currently, switching over the financial system, man. You know what I'm saying? And we're just we waiting for that event. Us in the truth, we just waiting for that Black Swan event. Whatever the hell it's gonna be. You know what I'm saying? The lights go out and they turn back on, and this man's gonna be pushing that system, man. But anyways, so that's pretty much the point. Like I said, I was gonna read the article, but I don't wanna spill too much. But the episode is called Common People, and it just that's why we like Black Mirror, man, because it pretty much hits, at the what this devil is looking to do. All right. But let me grab one precept. Second Corinthians 2:11, it says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices, man. See, we know how this devil moves, man. And that's the beauty of it, is that, the Most High got the prophets on the right, warning you, All right, forewarning you of what's to come. And then not only that, these devils on the left, by their own laws they abide by, they got to show you anyways. You know, they got to tell you anyways, man. You know, what they want to do. You know, so you're not ignorant. We're not ignorant in this truth, man, of what this devil is rolling down the pipeline. You know what I'm saying? And we're in them times, them short times where this shit's about to go full, full scale, man. All right, but that's pretty much it. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and close out and give all praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah Bashem Kakadash, DTLY Baba Ball, Shalom.